In the quiet moments between breaths, the soul begins its final journey, long before the physical body releases its last sigh. The ancient wisdom keepers have always known this truth. Death is not a sudden event, but a gradual transition, a sacred passage where the soul gently loosens its earthly ties. The renowned spiritual teacher Edgar once described this process as the soul's preparation for its homecoming, a profound insight that modern hospice workers and death doulas now confirm through countless bedside observations. The first sign manifests as an unexplained inner peace that descends upon those approaching transition. Family members often express astonishment at how their loved one, previously terrified of death, suddenly radiates a serene acceptance. This peace isn't resignation, but recognition, as if the soul has glimpsed something beyond our limited understanding. "It was as if my mother had received a message overnight," one daughter shared. "Her fear vanished completely, replaced by a calm certainty I couldn't comprehend until I witnessed it fully." This inner tranquility often arrives alongside the second sign, conversations with the departed. These aren't hallucinations or confusion, but rather the thinning of the veil between dimensions. As one reality begins to fade, another comes into focus. The dying frequently report visits from beloved parents, children, siblings, or friends who have already crossed over. "My father started having full conversations with his brother who had passed 20 years earlier," a son recounted. "He would gesture toward the foot of his bed and say, 'Can't you see him? He's right there, waiting for me.' The remarkable thing was the joy these visits brought him." The third sign reveals itself through subtle goodbyes, meaningful gestures of closure that might easily be missed by those unaware of their significance. A grandfather insisting his grandson take his cherished watch to remember me by. A mother suddenly wanting to teach her daughter the family recipes while I still can. Letters appearing with instructions to open after I'm gone. These actions represent the soul's understanding that its journey in this form is completing. They are not morbid preparations, but acts of love and awareness. Prophetic comments form the fourth sign, often delivered with surprising casualness. "I won't be here for Christmas," said in July. "Don't worry about buying me new clothes when winter approaches. I'm going on a journey soon," mentioned during ordinary conversation. These statements aren't seeking attention or expressing depression. They're acknowledgements of an inner knowing that transcends intellectual understanding. The soul speaks these truths not to frighten, but to prepare those who will remain. These first four signs represent the initial awareness of transition, as the soul begins to acknowledge what the conscious mind might still deny. They're whispered messages from the deepest part of our being, gentle indicators that a great transformation approaches, not with dread, but with the profound recognition that we are returning to our spiritual origin. As the soul continues its preparation for departure, its focus naturally shifts away from material existence toward the spiritual journey ahead. This transition manifests in observable ways that loved ones might notice if they pay close attention to these subtle but profound changes. The fifth sign appears as a gradual withdrawal from daily life. The individual begins to disengage from regular activities, conversations, and concerns that once occupied their attention. This isn't depression in the clinical sense, but rather a natural redirecting of energy. "My grandmother stopped watching her favorite television programs," one granddaughter observed. She, who never missed the evening news, suddenly had no interest in politics or world events. This detachment extends beyond mere disinterest. It represents the soul's gentle separation from temporal matters as eternal concerns become more prominent. Family members often report their loved ones becoming increasingly quiet, seeking solitude, or showing less engagement with future plans and projects. Conversations about next year's garden or an upcoming family reunion may be met with a knowing smile rather than enthusiasm. The person isn't being negative, they're simply aware on some level that their participation in these earthly events is coming to completion. Their energy is being conserved and redirected toward the significant inner work of transition. The sixth sign manifests as fixed stares into empty space, a phenomenon frequently documented by hospice workers and family caregivers. The dying person may gaze intently at seemingly vacant areas of the room, corners, doorways, or ceilings, with expressions ranging from curiosity to wonder to profound recognition. My husband would stare at the ceiling for hours with such concentration, one wife recalled. When I asked what he was looking at, he simply said, "They're gathering." His face showed no fear, only peaceful anticipation. These gazes aren't random or meaningless. Many spiritual traditions across cultures describe the gathering of guides, ancestors, or angels as death approaches. The dying person may be perceiving realities invisible to others in the room, not as hallucinations, but as glimpses into the dimension they are preparing to enter. These moments often bring comfort, rather than distress, as if confirming they won't make this journey alone. Perhaps the most misunderstood sign is the seventh, an unexpected surge of energy that often precedes final decline. Medical professionals sometimes call this phenomenon the rally, a brief period where someone who has been declining suddenly appears dramatically improved. They might eat a full meal after days of no appetite, engage in animated conversation, or even briefly get out of bed when they've been bedridden. Dad hadn't spoken clearly for weeks, one son shared. Then suddenly one morning he was alert, laughing, asking for his favorite breakfast. He spoke with everyone, shared memories, and seemed almost his old self. By evening, he had slipped into unconsciousness and passed away before dawn. This mysterious surge isn't the body healing, but rather the soul gathering its remaining energy for the final transition, like a candle that flares brightly just before it extinguishes. These three signs, withdrawal, fixed gazes, and the final rally, represent the middle stage of the soul's preparation. The conscious awareness is turning inward while simultaneously becoming more receptive to the spiritual realm. The physical body begins to follow the soul's lead, redirecting energy from daily functions toward the profound work of release. Family members who understand these signs can find comfort in recognizing them not as random symptoms, but as meaningful steps in a sacred process that has been witnessed across countless bedsides throughout human history. As the transition draws nearer, the soul engages in a profound process of reflection and recognition, expressing itself through patterns that spiritual caregivers have observed across cultures and throughout time. These manifestations represent the deepening awareness of the journey's progression and the soul's increasing orientation toward its spiritual home. The eighth sign emerges as life review conversations, a fascinating phenomenon where the dying person begins to speak about distant memories, long-forgotten relationships, or significant life moments with remarkable clarity and detail. This isn't mere nostalgia, but rather a purposeful recounting that seems to organize and integrate a lifetime of experiences. My aunt started recalling childhood events from the 1930s with such vivid specificity, a niece reported. She described her third-grade teacher's earrings and the smell of her father's workshop, details she hadn't mentioned in decades. These life review conversations often follow meaningful patterns, beginning with early memories and progressing chronologically, or focusing on pivotal moments that shaped the person's character and choices. Sometimes they center on unresolved relationships or events that carry emotional significance. The person might suddenly remember and speak about individuals they haven't mentioned in years, a childhood friend, a former colleague, or a distant relative, as if reconnecting with each thread of their life tapestry. Spiritual traditions have long recognized this process as essential soul work. The conscious or unconscious reviewing of one's life journey serves multiple purposes: integration of experiences, resolution of lingering emotions, and preparation for the release of attachments. For loved ones, these conversations offer precious final insights into the rich inner landscape of the departing soul, and sometimes provide unexpected healing as old stories are shared from new perspectives. Perhaps the most poignant indication of the soul's preparation is the ninth sign, a desire to go home. This expression often confuses family members, especially when it comes from someone already in their home environment. "My mother kept insisting she needed to go home," a daughter explained. "When I reminded her she was in her own bedroom where she'd lived for 40 years, she shook her head and said, 'No, not this home. My real home.' This yearning isn't confusion or disorientation, but a profound spiritual awareness. The soul recognizes its origin beyond physical existence and expresses this recognition through the universal metaphor of home. The dying person might speak of needing to pack for a journey, waiting for transportation, or preparing for departure. They may describe seeing pathways, doorways, or bridges that aren't visible to others. These aren't delusions, but expressions of an inner knowing that transcends ordinary perception. Sometimes this desire manifests as restlessness, attempting to get out of bed, reaching toward unseen presences, or making hand motions as if gathering or preparing something. One hospice nurse described a patient who spent her final days folding invisible laundry with great care and attention. When I asked what she was doing, the nurse recalled, she smiled and said she was getting things in order before the long journey home. These expressions reflect the soul's deepening recognition of its imminent transition. The metaphor of journey or return appears consistently across diverse cultural and religious backgrounds, suggesting it emerges from the soul's authentic experience rather than merely from cultural conditioning. For those maintaining vigil, understanding this yearning can transform potential distress into recognition of the natural progression of the spirit's preparation. The life review and homegoing desire represent the soul's final preparations, integrating the experiences of this lifetime while simultaneously orienting toward what lies beyond. These signs offer profound comfort to those who recognize them, revealing that even as physical systems begin to fail, the essential self remains engaged in meaningful work, approaching transition not with confusion or fear, but with purpose and recognition. When we recognize and honor these 9 signs, we transform our understanding of death from a merely medical event to a sacred passage. The final stage of life becomes not just a time of loss and sorrow, but an opportunity for profound connection, healing, and spiritual awareness. By attending to these subtle signals with reverence and understanding, we can provide meaningful support to those completing their earthly journey. The wisdom traditions across cultures have always taught that consciousness extends beyond physical existence. The transitions we observe in those approaching death affirm this ancient understanding. From the unexplained peace that descends upon the previously fearful to the mysterious conversations with unseen visitors, from the meaningful distribution of possessions to prophetic awareness of timing, from withdrawal and fixed gazes to sudden rallies, life reviews, and the yearning for home, each sign points to a process far more intricate and purposeful than mere biological decline. How then do we best serve as witnesses and companions to this sacred transition? The first principle is presence, being fully available without imposing our fears or expectations. The greatest gift I gave my father, one son reflected, was simply sitting with him in silence, acknowledging whatever he was experiencing without questioning or correcting him. This open acceptance creates space for the dying person to express their authentic experience without feeling pressured to conform to others' understanding of reality. When someone speaks of seeing departed loved ones or describes journeys, doorways, or gathering guides, our most supportive response is simple acknowledgement. Questions like, "Who do you see?" or "Can you tell me more about them?" validate their experience while providing precious final communications that family members often treasure long after the passing. Challenging these perceptions or dismissing them as confusion only creates distress and isolation at a time when connection is most vital. The soul's preparation often occurs alongside the body's physical changes, creating a complex interplay of spiritual awareness and physical limitation. Medical comfort measures remain essential, but equally important is attending to the emotional and spiritual dimensions of the experience. Reading spiritual texts meaningful to the person, playing music that resonates with their soul, or simply holding their hand while acknowledging the sacredness of the moment can provide profound comfort. Those keeping vigil sometimes report extraordinary experiences themselves, unexplained lights, meaningful coincidences, symbolic dreams, or a palpable sense of loving presence in the room. These phenomena suggest that the thinning veil between worlds affects not only the departing soul, but also those connected through love. Rather than dismissing these experiences, we might recognize them as glimpses into the greater reality that awaits us all. The process of departure varies greatly in its timing and manifestation. Some transitions extend over months, while others unfold in days or hours. Some souls move through all 9 signs sequentially, while others might display only a few. This variation reminds us that each soul's journey is uniquely its own, following an innate wisdom that transcends our understanding. Our role is not to manage or control this process, but to witness it with reverence and support it with love. Perhaps the most profound teaching these 9 signs offer is that we are not merely physical beings having occasional spiritual experiences, but spiritual beings having a temporary physical experience. The soul knows how to leave this world, just as it knew how to enter it. This knowledge emerges naturally as transition approaches, not as learned information, but as remembered wisdom that rises from the deepest core of our being. In honoring these 9 signs, we participate in humanity's oldest and most universal spiritual understanding, that life and death are not opposites, but complementary aspects of an unbroken continuum. The same intelligence that orchestrates the seasons, guides the stars, and transforms caterpillars into butterflies, guides each soul's journey homeward. By witnessing this process with awareness and reverence, we glimpse the profound truth that has comforted countless generations. The understanding that although bodies may perish, the essential self continues its journey in ways that transcend our limited perception, but not our limitless love. If these signs touched your spirit, subscribe now and share your experiences below. The veil between worlds is thinner than we realize. Join our community of seekers as we explore life's deepest mysteries together.